Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out Wonder Woman issue 1 by Tom King and Daniel Sampere. King opens his new series with some pretty big, yet a little predictable swings as America turns its back on the Amazons and after a series of very clear setups, decides it's time to evict the warrior women from their soil. This sends Wonder Woman on a mission to discover what exactly caused one of her sisters to turn violent and who is really running things behind the scenes in the United States of America. There is a lot to digest over this issue. So much of it is just setup, which maybe would have been better doled out across the first 2 issues rather than crammed into this first issue. But finally, a Wonder Woman book is going in a genuinely interesting direction that isn't a writer rewriting her origin yet again, introducing us to a new piece of the Greek pantheon, or a new Wonder Woman or something, or another battle with Ares or Zeus. It's something actually different and new, and I was getting really big Fall of X vibes from this issue since, as I said before, a lot of the book is set up to the whole Amazons getting kicked out of America, and Wonder Woman doesn't actually appear until near the end of the issue. It's all just following Sergeant Steel, a Deadpool DC character that King has resurrected as a new Wonder Woman villain and primary force who is hunting her and the Amazons. I think it's great that King seems to be really the only one at DC pulling out all of these old school, smaller characters and breathing life into them. But this is also where my problems with a lot of King's work stems from, since all the characters he touches or decides to bring back are all related to the government, or they're spies, or they're somehow involved in the military. Now, King himself actually worked for the CIA and the government, so there's a lot of the age-old adage of write what you know going on, but it constantly happens with his work, with all of it feeling rather samey. He never really leaves his comfort zone, but when he does, the very few times he has in his writing career, you get really awesome stuff like his Supergirl book or the Elmer Fudd Batman crossover. Right now, the book feels very samey to a lot of his past work, specifically stuff like Human Target, Strange Adventures, all of sort of the Black Label stuff he'd been building up over the last couple of years. It's all stuff about corrupt governments, secret agents who are in too deep, just all that sort of stuff, kind of just poking fun at America and a government, which is all well and good in my book. The problem is he just keeps doing it and keeps never building on it or evolving that one thing. It just keeps doing the same thing over and over again. He very briefly broke out of this midway through the book though, with a really cool yet a bit morbid and terrifying bit where Sergeant Steel turns into a hilariously cartoonish villain and he mocks a small girl in front of her dead mother. But then in a couple of pages reverts back to a more stoic, realistic stuff, you know, by the book agent that he always does. It's a really weird turn. I really hoped that he was going to keep going with the whole cartoonish Sergeant Steel turn, since it was really great for those couple of pages that he was doing it, and it would also feed into the whole thing about the whole book sort of making fun of America and how, you know, stuff like cancel culture and people being triggered because women have rights and just all that sort of stuff, which is all present in this book and are really great stuff, but it just never really feels like it hits home for me. It feels like it's almost there, and if you just went a little bit further into it and kind of made fun of it, almost like how Mark Russell makes fun of stuff like this over in his books, I think it would have been even more enjoyable. One thing that was really worrying me though about the book was how he was going to write Diana. We've seen how he was writing Diana before and it wasn't too great. He wrote her in his Batman book as well as in Heroes in Crisis, and she wasn't very well received in those books. She wasn't a very well fleshed out character in the book and felt like a second-rate character. But here she is, with what little we actually get from her throughout the book, is actually pretty great and pretty on point for her. I like that she very much doesn't want to fight. She is very much imbuing that whole Ambassador of Peace title that she usually has. I enjoyed what fights we did get from her, since it was all about just taking out a threat with little violence, just sort of knocking people out, using her tiara as a weapon, which I thought was really cool, and then using the lasso to get the truth out of people was very cool, very on character for Wonder Woman, and I applaud King for actually doing stuff like that, and maybe even realizing that what he wrote for her in the past wasn't exactly right, and this is him sort of atoning for that. The villain of the book is also quite interesting, since obviously we have Sergeant Steel as sort of the heavy of the book and someone who can go toe to toe with Wonder Woman with all his soldiers and stuff, but the big villain of the book is someone called the Sovereign, and it's revealed to be this really old guy who's sort of the king of America, and he's been using the lasso of lies to sort of propagate lies and fake information throughout America to keep everyone in check and keep the country as his own. I kind of like this. It kind of feeds into the whole conspiracy theory of stuff with people thinking, you know, the Illuminati and New World Order are controlling America and the world and everything, and I really look forward to seeing what King does with this character. I think it's quite an interesting concept for Wonder Woman to fight this sort of hidden leader of America, and someone who also has the lasso of lies, which I'm not really too familiar with that sort of stuff in Wonder Woman lore, whether there are lassos and everything. So if that's something new, that's quite interesting. That's an interesting new portion of Wonder Woman lore that I would like to look into, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he will do with this character and how Diana will go against fighting someone she can't really fight or can't really get a hold of, since their whole deal is them propagating lies and, you know, controlling the narrative and stuff like that. And how do you fight something like that? It's really, really interesting, and I'm hoping that King manages to pull it off. Over on the art side of things, Daniel Sampere joins the book and just doesn't miss a beat. Sampere's art is just fantastic. We've seen his work on various things over the years at DC, and it's just always looked amazing. It's just so full of detail and color, and here he just doesn't miss a beat, and it just makes King's story all that much more better. I'm intrigued to see what he's going to do in the future once we get to see some more heroes, maybe some more villains, but what he delivered here was great with a lot of fun designs. I like how simple he kept things, especially with characters like Sergeant Steel being in the mix, where they usually just wear suits and look very secret agent-esque, and it contrasts really nicely with Wonder Woman's really bright and colorful red and blue costume. King's Wonder Woman issue 1 was a pretty good start to a new series. It actually brought something new and interesting to Wonder Woman, who has been kind of in a rut lately, with writers not really knowing what to do with the character or what her trajectory should be. But I like that King is actually setting up something quite interesting here with the whole of America going against Wonder Woman, and how does she fight something she can't actually see or can't actually touch. I'm really intrigued to see what this character of the Sovereign is. It's such an interesting concept for a villain, who's like an old man who's a king of America. So cool, feeds into all the conspiracy theories and everything. It's really interesting stuff, though the problem I do have with the book is that it does feel at times very samey to what King has written in the past. It feels very safe for someone like him, since he has written so much of this before in other books. Hopefully as the book goes on, we do get to see a little bit more originality and him sort of branching out into some new and interesting concepts, but right now it's just very much in his wheelhouse and very safe for him. So I'm going to give this issue an 8 out of 10. Definitely check it out if you haven't read Wonder Woman in a while. It's a pretty good jumping on point. It sets everything up pretty nicely for the run. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what else King has in store for us in the future.